So my name is Anya Wick, but at birth, I was Anya Beth Epstein. I am Jeff Epstein's niece, and I was raised as a sex slave. My father had me separated from my mother and twin brother and administered a substance that was designed to sever my memory. Every time I was taken to or family vacation or a trip to the cabin in the mountains, I was given this drug, upon which everything would come flooding back. But when it wore off, so would the majority of my memories of it. And I would try to go to school, perform with my bands, be a regular person. But it broke me subconsciously. I knew something was very wrong, and I had internalized it on myself. In the material world, in this plane, I'm being assaulted by my father, my uncles, my cousins. But my mind is somewhere else. My mind is going on this fantasy ride. And when I awake, I'm very confused. And started piecing together back memories that I had assumed were only nightmares in about 2020. My family masqueraded themselves as Jewish publicly. But behind closed doors, at Passover dinners, when I was drugged, would admit, we are Satanists. The cult of Baal, B-A-L.
Yep.
I know very little about it. It goes back for generations. They told me this with consistency while I was being abused. Now, what you can look up about the cult of Baal, information that is publicly available, is that it is thousands of years old. It is a Phoenician satanic fertility cult. And publicly, it's supposed to have been eradicated. But to my knowledge and my experience, it is not. I did not want to believe it. It was easier for me to stay in denial. I was happier when I was still in denial. My life was easier when I was still in denial. But these were the same memories that I thought were only nightmares when I was a child. I stayed in denial after the memories started surfacing because I remembered having some nightmares about being assaulted at the family cabin. Some memories about meeting a bunch of celebrities at big parties. That was very confusing. But in 2020, the first new memories to surface were not of the assaults, but of the circumstances around it. Because for most of the assaults, I was usually unconscious. I first remembered my family bragging about what they were doing. And I go to my therapist and I say, my family lied and told me that they were drugging me to me. Why would they do that? And she said, why would they tell you they were drugging you and you if they weren't? And I said, well, I know that they did drug me because I tried a tiny, tiny bit of what they bragged about giving me. And I remembered being on it all the time, but I don't remember the assaults yet. I remember having some nightmares about being assaulted. She says, okay, are you sure they were nightmares? And it would go on like that until I remembered instances of the physical assaults running and hiding from them, trying to hide myself in the bathroom, like that's going to help anything. Running naked and barefoot down the mountain before pausing and forgetting where I was and wandering back up the hill to the cabin, screaming out for my mother. I went to go see 3 other doctors after my therapist did so much to do EMDR with me and get me to accept that the brain would not recall false traumatic memories. Those are the memories that it blocks out, even when substance isn't part of it. People block out traumatic childhood memories until adulthood. I went asking other doctors to tell me I was schizophrenic, and they didn't, because I'm not. They said, no, our opinion matches that of your other therapist. And of course, the meds didn't do anything because they're for an issue I don't have. But so it was about a 2-year process between when the memories first started coming back and I retained memories of being with my twin brother when we were toddlers. I had memories of being with him as teenagers at these reunions, and memories of my father and stepmother and brothers making fun of me for not remembering about my twin brother. And I didn't want to believe it because it was too sad. Because it was safer for me still, I thought, to just go through that than try to run away, try to face it. I couldn't face it. My brain wouldn't let me. But that's how the memories came back. It took about 2 years and 4 different doctors to get me to understand it was real. I was in such deep denial. I moved back to New York City because my ex-husband had a scheme to try to allow me to speak about some of this in court, since court testimony can be used as evidence to potentially open up a criminal case. But when I got to the hearing, I was only allowed to say my name and address, and the judge refused to let me speak beyond that. When we had gone to the FBI a couple years ago, they interviewed my father and said, oh, he said nothing happened, so we're going to close this case. All I have is my word and my DNA. It had my viewers scared about me. What's protected me is my stating that if they hurt me, it will only validate what I've been talking about. That claim is keeping me safe. If they did have any intention of hurting me before, they can't now without it making my voice a bigger story. To answer your basic question, why my family does this, because it was done to them, because having one man bear as many children in a generation as possible and forcing them through these traumatic events, they believe it creates a stronger bond, that creates more loyalty, that it keeps people from talking. And for the most part, they're right, because I'm the only one of my siblings who has directly spoken out about this. There are people who have hinted at it in their music. I decided to start speaking out because I don't want any children in my family to have to continue growing up wondering why they don't think that's their real mother or their real father. Because I can't stand the pain of knowing what those girls named Pain and Help are going through. And the challenges I've faced are what I've described with loyalty, with wanting to see my siblings and maybe wondering, okay, is it better for those children going through the same abuse now to simply have a loving adult in some capacity in their lives? Or for them to grow up and know that someone tried to speak for them? I am still split in half on that. The consensus in my soul about what the right thing for those children is as split as my memories used to be. Other challenges, you know, it's, you look at me and say, oh, well, that's not true. She's crazy. It's not the best outlet for my own healing, but it's the best way I can help others with theirs and make something beautiful ripple out of the pain that we were all put through. The more people talk about this, the less likely it is to cycle through history, especially men. I do believe men who are victimized are way more likely to become perpetrators themselves. I know 60% of men in prison experience child sexual abuse. And that's because it's so stigmatized. They don't talk about it, and if they don't talk about it, they can't heal from it. And when they don't heal from it, they crave reliving it. But they relive it from the other side of it. Taking back that power that was taken from them. It makes sense to a sick man. I don't want there to be any more sick men. I don't want there to be any more tortured little girls.
What do you say to the survivors watching this?
What do I say to the survivors?
Yes.
It wasn't your fault. You are not weak. It is okay if you're not ready to talk about it, but you will feel better when you do. You are valuable. You are not what happened to you. You are loved. To my siblings specifically, I understand why you feel like you can't speak. But you can, and you should, to spare your children the same internal struggle. You have power. You have responsibility. I pray every day that I'll get to see you again one day. But because I don't want the next generation going through what we went through, I'm not okay with staying silent in order to make that happen. And I pray that a handful of you can say something. To victims, again, at large, you do not have to perpetrate to take your power back. All you have to do is claim what happened to you. I don't want to call us victims. I read a lovely little book from the AK Press a couple of weeks ago about consent, and They defined victims as people who are no longer with us, people who lost the psychological battle, or even the battle against perpetrators like Virginia, and survivors as those who are still here. We are not victims, we are survivors. We are empowered. You can choose whether to use that power to be parts of waves of change against the fabric of secrecy that's been draped across our society. Or you can choose to be part of that fabric of secrecy, which is going to keep you wounded. It's up to you.